Republicans will be controlling both the legislative branch of government as well as the executive branch of government. And of course, there is still the Republican majority in the judicial branch for the state Supreme Court. How will this affect anything that we do here at the Ohio State Bar Association, or does it not have an effect?
Frankly, I don't think it's going to affect us that much. The change from a Democrat to Republican House, for instance, you have people coming into the leadership of the Ohio House who we've known for a long time. Bill Batchelder, who will be the speaker in the next session, has started service in the legislature in 1968.
Before I was born.
I've worked with him since '72. Steve met him in the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
We know Bill Batchelder. He's a lawyer. He served as a judge. He has great respect for the institution. We work with him well. His two top lieutenants in leadership, Lou Blessing and Matt Huffman, are both good lawyers. They both understand the system. We have wonderful relationships, similar to the relationships we had this current session. So, I don't think it's going to be any different for us. I think we have such a good relationship with them in the Senate, with the leadership there and members of the, Senate leadership, and also the minority on both sides. We know the players. They know us. And so, it's probably going to be a fairly, a smooth transition. With a change in administration to the executive branch, we know a number of the people there. We know a number of people who will be working with Mike DeWine, with the state auditor's office. And I think because many of those people have been around state government before and we've had the occasion and the opportunity to work with them, it should be a rather seamless transition. Now, there's some issues maybe a little different, but the ability to sit down and talk with people about the issues will not be any different.
The other interesting factor is that the number of lawyers in the General Assembly has increased dramatically the last couple of years, which is wonderful for us because it's very difficult to explain the nuances of probate law or corporation law to non-lawyers. And at one point, there weren't enough lawyers to even populate a judiciary committee in the Senate. But in December of 2004, we reached what we believe is an all-time low in the number of lawyers in the General Assembly. Only 24 out of 132 members were lawyers. And since then, that's increased, and we don't have the final count for the 129th next year, but it'll be approximately 40, which is a significant increase from 24, and really makes our job a lot easier when it comes to being able to explain the intricacies of certain areas of the law to members of the General Assembly.
Well, let's take a look then at the 129th General Assembly, and for the Ohio State Bar Association, kind of a legislative wish list, if you will. Steve, what do we look forward to?
Well, Stephanie, that we have the 129th will be 2011-2012. It's a 2-year biennial General Assembly. And we will have 10 bills heading into the session, and we will add more as the Council of Delegates approves issues. But in an unusual circumstance, we have 6 bills that we're holding over from the last session. A major corporation law bill that only lacked a final Senate floor vote, an omnibus probate law bill, Uniform Commercial Code Bill Articles 1 and 7, the Ohio Collaborative Family Law Act, an important House Bill 503, Animals at Large, which we tease about, but is an important bill from our Agricultural Law Committee, and a bill that's been around for close to 20 years, the bill on raising the limits for automobile insurance, minimum coverage. Those are carried over from the 128th General Assembly. Then we have a corporation law bill dealing with unincorporated associations and nonprofit corporations, a bill to address spousal support in the courts of Ohio, a bill dealing with the mortgage satisfaction statutes, and finally, an intellectual property bill dealing with the so-called Truth in Music Advertising Act, which involves the rock and roll bands and whether you can call yourself the Drifters unless you have an original member of the Drifters in the bill. So 10 bills. We expect to get them all introduced with both a Republican and a Democrat sponsor early in the session. Our goal is to have them all introduced by the end of February.
And Bill, if anyone has any question about these bills or in general for legislative questions and concerns, or if they're looking for information, what's the best way to do that?
Well, there's several ways. Of course, they can go to the website and look at the legislative portion. But, still one of the better ways to find out if they really have a specific question is to call either Steve or myself. I don't believe there's any substitute for the personal communication between the staff of the association and the members. Because they have specific questions, we can direct them, we can give them some background information. I think that's a service that is very important to our membership. We think it's very important to communicate with them. And so, the direct communication with Steve or myself, either through email or a phone call, and we'll get back to them as soon as we can, is a very good way to do it. And, if we don't have the answers, what we can do is direct them to a member of the committee who's working on a particular bill. And they can talk directly to the source of the information, get a little background. Steve and I don't claim to be a master of all these issues, maybe a jack of all trades, master of none, but we know where to direct our members to get the information that's required. And information is important. That's what the members desire. That's what they base their practice upon. And if we can give them that information, that's very, very helpful.
Bill Weisenberg and Steve Stover, thank you very much for joining us and talking about the General Assembly and legislative process here at the Ohio State Bar Association.
Stephanie, thank you for having us this afternoon, and everyone have a wonderful holiday season.